Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today.
There's nothing like thinking about you and your love forever. But you better start thinking now, 'cause that's a real long time together. No primacy, a new family, but it's a dream come true. 'Cause it's a mystery that a girl like that could fall for you. It's just the scariest and greatest thing to happen to you. Say I do.
How's everyone doing in winter here so far? Anyone ready for it to be spring? Yeah? Woo! I can say amen to that. Well, again, good morning. My name is Stephen Skinner, for those that don't know me. To all our church family here, we love you guys. To all our guests, if you're here first time, second time, whatever, if I haven't got a chance to know you, you are super welcome. We are super grateful to have you here. I'm going to give a shout out to all the people who probably are dealing with the flu, a little bit under the weather, or you're just out of town, you can't make it in, you don't want to brave the streets on Facebook Live or live streaming. We totally welcome you. We're thrilled you would spend your Sunday morning, or depending where you are, maybe Sunday evening with us. But again, it's all good. Okay, so we are in the second week of a 4-week series. Second week of a 5-week series. We're doing a 5-week one here. We got kicked on this whole concept of love, all right? So anyone remember a little bit? Jimmy kicked us off last week here, where you have these awesome little graphics back here. It's a series called Love Song. We're diving in to the book of the Song of Songs, or Song of Solomon. And I'll tell you, I mean, if you read this book, it might make you blush. I mean, because it is a little bit outrageous. And on top of that, too, if you don't know how to use some of the things in context, I'll share in a minute here, you're in big trouble as well here, too, because you could be walloped with a frying pan. But nonetheless, it is a book that's written by King Solomon. All right, now King Solomon, I told someone, I think he had like 700 wives, and so he had a lot of practice too to get this love stuff down here. I only got one chance to get it right, so it doesn't work so hot that I'm in big trouble. But it is a book that has great insight and wisdom for having a godly relationship, if you understand it. So again, we want to dive into it. Jimmy kicked us off last week talking about faithful attraction, okay? He was laying down a foundation through chapter 1 of the book of Song of Songs. Again, Song of Solomon. Some Bibles refer to either or. And again, you can follow along with me if you go to, Manny had the little rack card, which again, Manny, man, you did an amazing job. Jimmy, again, we wish you get better, brother. We love you. But Manny filled in today. He rocked it out. You know what, Jessica, yeah, we'll give him a hand. And Jessica, man, I turned around, man. She was like red as a rose there, Beauty and the Beast. I love it. Come on, you can't help that you married the Beast. But anyway, yeah, she is lovely. But nonetheless, yeah, great job filling in there. So he talked about last week, Jimmy, faithful attraction, laying a foundation for having godly relationships, all right? So he talked about building godly character as we want to pursue someone. He talked about consistently encouraging someone, setting the standards high enough for ourselves so that we aren't just acting like everyone else. And the problem is most relationships don't make it out because they don't have any foundation. We're going to dive a little bit more into this today. But that was last week. Next week, I'm just going to say it, Jimmy's going to be talking, a lot of blushing going on. He's going to be talking about sex. He's not going to just talk about any kind of sex or great sex or whatever. He's going to talk about godly sex. Godly sex through marriage. And as one person said it, he says, godly sex is not just great sex, because it is also godly sex. So anyway, nonetheless, he will be sharing about that next week. So again, don't miss it. Bring someone if you want to have them never come back. No, anyway, they hopefully they'll come back again. Here's my thing I was thinking about this week, and we don't mind tackling tough topics in this church. We never tackle them with judgment, never tackle them with criticism. But I think for far too long, the church has ignored certain topics, such as love in our marriages and relationships. Like, for instance, we have no problem talking about loving our enemies, no problem talking about loving our children when they're bad, no problem about trying to love our work, learning to love the church. But something about opening up and loving your spouse, and not just coming from the standpoint of, I got it all happening here, I know what's going on, I am a professional in relationships, which I'd be yanked off the stage right now if that's the case. But opening up and being vulnerable. So when we stand up here, Jimmy stands up here, or I share on things, we are sharing from our own heart, our own experience. I had a text from someone this week saying thank you for not putting yourself on a pedestal, because we could not anyway. But we don't mind talking about tough topics because we are going through these very things ourselves. However, Jimmy did last week, I got a little kick. Sometimes I'll like take one little thing last week when he was talking about chapter 1 of Song and Songs. And I'll tell you right now, if you're reading this book, it's poetry. It's like poetry, and there's those relationships which, there's some, I was never like this where you're ushy-gushy, like especially in public or whatever, and I don't know if these, poems were written in public, but I'm, try to be a little more calm and chill, and these things are like crazy over the top here. And so anyway, I thought about the one I kept, mentioned it throughout the last week there about Jimmy using an illustration in Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 9, where he was, Solomon is referring to his wife, his woman, whatever there, as, you are like a mare, you are more excellent than, your beauty is like Pharaoh's horses. He's relating his woman to a horse, all right? Now, I was going to start using that one, late at night, one of these last week here. And then she was looking for that little fire bat that you used to break a window open. She was looking for it, and she was chasing me out of the room and about to whoop me because I called her a horse. It didn't go so hot with Katrina. So, but please be careful if you are going to use these phrases with your spouse. Make sure that you understand the context and maybe have to translate what that verse means, which is just the beauty of the magnificence when people would see these white horses back in Pharaoh's day. Don't call your spouse a horse. Okay, so keep that in mind there. But today's topic, let's just dive right into it here. I'm calling today's topic perfect seasoning, all right? Perfect seasoning. In every great relationship, there's going to be seasons, okay? To even get to a relationship with someone, there is seasons, all right? And just like what do we all are waiting for when I mentioned you, how are you doing in winter right now? What are we all waiting for right now? Spring. We are all waiting for spring, yes. And that darn, a groundhog, whatever. What do we got now, 6 weeks? Darn that thing. Didn't they drop it a few years ago and it died or something? Anyway, so nonetheless we got 6 more weeks. We can hang in there, church, all right? We can do it. We're brave. What? Yeah. Got to get one that has one of those, Apple Watches or something like that. But you can tell the time and get that season straight. But anyway, nonetheless, so we got a little time to go here, but we are going to have spring eventually, and we will be talking, 6 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now, whenever, June. No, that the sun will be coming out. But just like every relationship, there is seasons. And that's when we're talking about perfect seasoning. We are talking about the preparations of seasons. So, for instance, you may be in a season of winter. Now, we're going to talk about these seasons, and what it refers to, because you're going to see this in Song of Songs chapter 2. It relates to literally times of year. And again, in the winter, if you go out right now, all right? Now, there might be some pine trees out there that have some prickly needles on it. But besides that, if you go out there, you're not going to see a lot of foliage. You're not going to see a lot of things in blossom because it's winter. It's cold. It's still. It tends to be more silent. But spring is on its way. And when spring comes, things tend to flourish. They grow. They blossom. Can't have spring without going through winter. So in all relationships, we're going to be going through these levels. What could winter be in a relationship for you right now? Like if someone's in a season of winter, what does that look like? Winter can be literally healing from a hurt. You might already be just past a relationship hurt. It could be struggling with forgiveness. You could be, God could be teaching you just how to renew your mind, how to love Him, how to put Him first. Winter is not bad. It's a season of preparation, which is our first topic for today, a season of preparation. Let's look at what it says here when Song of Songs talks about here in chapter 2, verse 11 and 12. It says, "See, the winter is past. The rains are over and gone. Flowers appear on the earth. The season of singing has come. The cooing of doves is heard in our land." I know I got married at a very young age. If you don't know that, I've been married quite a few years here. And yet, I can relate to a season of winter in my life that God just had to put the brakes on all my little thoughts and desires and all my little crushes here. But get a little, sort of a comical story here. And I was thinking just in the last couple of days about a story that really brought me into to this time of winter in my own life. And that is, most of you know, I was in Bible quizzing in my teen years, and I was very driven in it. But I also had a couple buddies of mine that were also in Bible quizzing. They were, again, if you had a picture of like Sylvester Stallone when he was in his teen years, these guys were Italian. They were good looking. It's like I tell them they were born with a 5 o'clock shadow, and they were just instantly tan all the time, had big biceps. They worked in construction with their father. As far as when it came to any girls, any crushes I had or whatever, it was over. As soon as they walked in the room, they're like, "Oh," and I'd be like, on the other hand, I was a little scrawny of a kid. My hair was just a little bit flat. And I was also known to be extremely pale white. So comparatively, I didn't stand a chance. Not to mention, we were in Bible quizzing too. I mean, again, Bible quizzing, the closest thing I can relate it to is a spelling bee. So, you usually are not looking for your next supermodel in a spelling bee. Nothing against spelling bee contestants, but same type of thing. That was a lot of my interaction as a young person with youth and other people there, and be like, "Ooh, hey, you're sort of cool." But I thought I had lucked out one time. This is probably, I'm 14, 15 or whatever here. And again, I grew up in a household where we don't do dating, all right? And at the time, I did not care for that. Ask any teenage kid that likes, girls, they're not a big fan of it. Now come 20-something years later, I'm probably pretty happy that my parents, put the kibosh and was pretty tough. But I thought I had lucked out here at one time because I was at this Bible quiz tournament, and it was out of state. And there was this young lady there, obviously my age because I was a young guy, named Molly. Again, nothing. She was just heavy. She was just low self-esteem. She just looked a little unkept, and yet she didn't seem like she had any friends. And I just befriended her. I didn't have many people I was hanging out with. My Italian friends were off and on whatever all their good buddies. And so I went and I just befriended, and I just said, "Hey, Monty, how's it going?" And she told me she's not that good at this and that. And I said, "Hey, you could do it. You could be really good in this area." And I just encouraged her, just doing my best I could. Well, it was about 8 months later, there was another tournament out of state in that same area. And all of a sudden, this person walks up to me who was, again, amazing looking. I didn't recognize this person. And it was her. And she said, "Hey, Stephen." And I'm like, "Hey, Molly?" And she had lost 30, 40 pounds. I don't know, she went into some fitness program or whatever, and she looked amazing. And I'm this homeschooled kid, very pale. I got my 1-inch tan line from my high-end socks there and my shorts. And I'm like, "How's it going?" But she remembered my kindness. And I'm like, "Oh, this is my lucky day, lucky stars." Now again, one thing I knew enough, even though I was not good on any pickup lines, I knew enough not to talk about the transformation, because what do you say? "Oh my gosh, you look so good now compared to what you did look like. It's not good. That's not a good line to talk about. And you don't be talking like, well, you were so, heavy, and now you're, so not good. So I knew, but I was navigating through it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my lucky stars. It was like I gambled and I won. But nonetheless, then comes shortly thereafter my buddies. And before you know it just turns right around. She has her arm under one of these guys. All I remember at the very end was that one of my buddies was sharing a Big Mac with, or a Whopper at Burger King with her, and it was really gross. They were like eating from each side of it. I don't know. It was really sort of disturbing, but I do remember that, and it didn't go so hot. But even though my life came crashing down again, I think there was a part of a turning point in there where I was going into a season of winter, because God was working on me, saying, hey, work on yourself. Focus in on me. So I went into studying music. I went to work harder. I went, I focused even, I started working out a little bit there. And I'm like, I'm going to get rid of my little scrawny self here. But that season of winter is a season of preparation. Spent a lot of time on music. Wish I would have spent more time learning God's word in my heart, not just in my head. I was studying a lot in my head, but again, God brings things around, and that's why there's grace. So we can become people of prayer and people that want to learn his word and apply it to our lives. Again, the verse again, the winter is past. The rains are over and gone. Flowers are appearing on the earth. The season of singing has come. The cooing of doves is heard in our land. Can't have spring, church, without winter. Can't have spring. So from that season of preparation, that season of winter, many of us will go into that next season, that season of spring, which we're going to spend the last portion of our time really talking about this, because this is important. I call it the season of infatuation. Has anyone ever seen someone in a relationship and literally, and it's okay, it's all right, you might be in one yourself right now, or you maybe have been there, and you meet that certain someone. And it's like all the stars align, you see angels coming down, and you just have everything in common. You wouldn't have talked to them 10 hours a day, you don't get off the phone, you're texting. It's like you every love song you turn on the radio that you think no one else is looking at you when you're driving your car, but everyone's looking at you actually, and you're singing it out loud and you're singing your guts out. That type of season of infatuation where you're just so into this other person here. And it's amazing that when you get into that season of infatuation, it seems like part of our brain goes out the window, because our age drops. So all of a sudden we're like, ookie, Gucci, sugar puff, honey. It's just like your language gets all like you're talking to a toddler there. But nonetheless, you go to the Bed Bath & Beyond, and every single thing relates to your relationship on the wall, and you're like, oh, it's a sign from the Lord. And so, you go to the drugstore and you get every card you can, and you want to just send it, you're so into it. I think also people are into this, and again, I'm not a big social media person now, but don't we do the Instagram, like the streak thing going on, like every 24 hours you try to keep these streaks going on, and people are like, I'm up to 120 days straight. Yeah, because you didn't sleep at all. So, people send in Instagram messages to that same person, I want to keep my streak alive. So nonetheless, what's up? Snapchat. Oh, the Snapchat? Oh, see, there we go. See, I have to have, yes, thank you. The fact checking is after our service. No, joking, no. Love you, Jill, awesome. So again, these streaks alive, bottom line is you're into that other person. Almost, possibly too much. I'll tell you right now, I did not have Snapchat when I was dating Katrina, but I did remember when she was we had dated for about a year, and she was going to head off to Maryland to go to college. And I remember she made me a teddy bear. Now, I'm not a big stuffed animal person. Some people are. They're like crazy stuffed animals. I'm not. But she not only made me a teddy bear, but she made a teddy bear out of one of my grunge flannel shirts that I used to wear to my performances. It was all like tattered and ruined, and armpits were probably disgusting. But anyway, it was she took that and sewed it and stuffed it and whatever in it. I think it is somewhere buried up in my attic. But anyway, it was amazing. She sprayed it with her own perfume, so as a little going away present, say, remember me, thinking. And man, I was like a little 2-year-old again. You hugged that thing, smelled it, and then after she left, she even pulled out another stop. She said, "Hey, I left a little pouch, I think like in the little butt area." But anyway, and in that was all these love letters that I wrote you during our time, and even before I met you, just the person that God wanted me to be with, and you can now read them all or whatever. So, because we did not have texts and all these other things, but it was amazing. I was in bliss. I mean, I was just on cloud 9. Oh man, teddy bear, I love you. But nonetheless, I was in that season of infatuation. Let's look here. Song of Songs, chapter 2, 8 through 10. Listen, my beloved. Look, here he comes, leaping across the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing through the windows, peering through the lattice, peekaboo. My beloved spoke and said to me, "Arise, my darling, my beautiful one. Come with me." I think I would call that infatuation, wouldn't you? That's a little bit, woo. Okay, peekaboo. What's up? Yeah, jeepers, creeper now. No, it is funny though in relationships, not to get off topic though, how, and again, I think this more happens, the assault happens more on men, but again, if you're in a relationship and marriage, you can say some amazing things to your wife one day, and you are just awesome. You are like stud muffin. You say that next thing, that same thing the next day, and you are a pervert. So you have to be very careful that you understand. It's just, you never get it right. You're like 50-50. Do I say this? Do I not? I say, So, I like the way that. No, it's not. It's not good. You got to be careful. But yes, it's season of infatuation. He is infatuated. She is infatuated with him. There you go. Leaping across the mountains, bounding over the hills. He's like a gazelle or a young stag. I would maybe be related now to a middle-aged, I don't know, is it a donkey maybe? I don't know. So, but anyway, yes, season of infatuation. It's funny with experts, they sort of tell you that this is a clinical type thing, the season of infatuation. You just can't get enough of the other person. And you look online and you see how long does that last for? It says it can only last for one day. That's not so hot, and it can last, they say, even up to 6 months. Very rarely it will go longer than that. But here's the hard part with the season of infatuation. It's built so much on emotion. It's built so much on something that doesn't necessarily hold weight yet. Because all you think about is this other person, and they can do no wrong. They're so perfect. And you're like, I can't wait for the next day. It's going to get better and better and better. And it can, but usually not before things come down some. To have a great relationship in this time of preparation, it's going to take a foundation. And the foundation has to be dug. And anyone who's ever put a foundation before in a house, it's work. And not only is it work, it takes time, it's tedious, it can be exhausting. But what great foundation is a relationship that can last. So I'm going to give you some helpful pointers here. Again, I know we have all kinds of people here in the room. You might have people right now that you are single. You have people here that are married, and you might have people here that are married and wish they were single. No, anyway, but regardless, I'm going to right now just take a few moments here, and these are helpful pointers for anyone, but for parents that have kids right now, and that you want to be giving them some pointers. For someone who's not yet married and is in a season of infatuation, or maybe whatever is going to be there, let me give you some helpful tips right now that are great boundaries, all right? Things that I sort of wish I could have done better on, and things that I wish that I knew. So again, if you're in a season of infatuation, or you're going to be, or someone here that you want to have to hear this, 3 things to limit. 3 things to limit during this season. And that is, 1 is your time, 2 is your talk, 3 is your touch. For people who are going to go into a season of infatuation with someone they love, or they are in it, we're going to go through each one of these, okay? Your time. Don't just when you're in a season of infatuation where it's literally you would be on the phone 10 hours a day. I know I couldn't stop calling. I got my first little flip phone. It was the coolest thing back in the late 90s. I'm like, man, this thing I can call anywhere. I think it was a certain time free. I think it was after 9 p.m. Almost everyone now is unlimited, but at the time it was like after 9, midnight, whatever it was. So you would just want to call and talk. The problem is that we tend to, when you are in that season of infatuation, you want to ditch all your friends. And I'm going to tell you right now, do not do that. Do not ditch people that are good people in your life that have given you guidance, whether that is your parents, whether that is your church family, whether that is close friends. A lot of people have done this before. When you're in this season, all you want to do is spend time with this other person, just seclude yourself. Not the healthiest thing. Incorporate that relationship, all right? If you got teenagers in the room here and you know you like someone or whatever, incorporate that person into your daily life. And you should incorporate yourself into their daily life. What is that going to do? You're going to get to know a lot about them. They're going to get to know a lot about you. You're going to get to know if this thing, you're going to build basically a foundation here. All right, so limit this crazy unlimited time of secluding yourself with this person. Spend it, bring them into your life. I wish I could have done a better job at this. When Katrina and I met, we were definitely infatuated, but I was like so focused on like getting my business going and all that. We tended to leave a lot of our friends in the dust. And looking back, I wish I would have said, you know what? I wish I would have incorporated them more into our life. We did have some great mentors, but we could have done better. 2, talk. Try and stay away. If you are in a season of infatuation, I have heard people talk like this. They're on the first or second date, third date, and they're already totally like naming their babies, talking about wedding. I mean, crazy stuff. Get to know the other person. Try not to use words such as, you are the most perfect. I would never, ever meet someone as perfect as you. Limit that. I feel like we did not so bad in this area. We went about at least 6 months to a year of just getting to know one another before any talk. And I mean, that is fast for some people. But we really wanted to get to know each other better. Wanted to make sure that, yes, this was God. This was something that He was putting us together through. And we were going to stick through thick and thin. We learned a lot during that time. We had to work through a lot of obstacles. So we were careful in using words such as, man, I'm going to be with you forever, whatever. We really wanted to make sure. And then 3, the hard one, touch. I think it's one of the hardest ones for guys, and I really believe men, you need to take the lead in this area as much as possible, and that is set standards of limiting touch. If you're not married and you are starting to touch someone all over in a season of infatuation, I'll tell you, the brain goes out the window. As soon as you start touching that person or you start putting whatever, it all goes out the window. And it's like, you can't help yourself. And so, limit if you're in a season of infatuation, try to set standards for yourself. Because that spirit, I'll tell you right now, it's a spirit of lust that comes upon yourself. You can't think straight. You can't think straight. And you do things that you say later on, oh man, I wish I didn't do that. You know, I'm going to tell you right now, and I ran by all my notes, just so you know. I was a good boy. I ran by my notes all by Katrina. So I said, if she's up in kids ministry here, I'm not going to crack jokes without her knowing it. No, but so she got to hear it first off. But I'll tell you right now, we did good in this area. We could have done better. All right? You know, so I will never put myself on a pedestal when we were together dating. All right? I'm just thankful that people even agreed to disagree to let us get married, or they agreed to have us get married, tell you, because when you get to that point, you're like, oh my gosh, you just love someone so much and you're going to make a mistake. So Even though Katrina and I, by definition, we would be considered pure when we got married, we crossed boundary lines, and I'll tell you right now, it's something that we could have done better on. I wish, but you can't go back. We had more guidance, we would have had more pastoral help, but can't blame anyone else. You can only hold yourself accountable. So this is where I want young people to learn this. I want young people to hear this and say, God's got a better plan. You can be more faithful. You can limit your touch. You can limit your talk. You can limit your time with that person and incorporating them into your life and not just seclude yourselves. I am super, super thankful for the grace of God, because when we talk up here, we don't have to talk about judgment. Again, I grew up in a lot of churches and seeing a lot of people just point the finger. You're no good, you're no good, this is what you do. And in the meantime, almost everyone's struggling. Let's scoot down here on my notes here. So, let's do a miniature quick review here. We went from the season of preparation to a season of infatuation, and then within that season of infatuation, we're limiting three things, church. Can we remember them here? One is what? What's the first one? Time. What's number two? And what's the last one? Is the youth group here? Are they hearing this? Where's youth group hands? Any youth group hands here? There we go, Jill. Wow, there we go. Double hand for Jill. There we go. We got Ben back there. All right, you guys? That's awesome. Matt, you listening? Okay, thank you, Matt. There we go. His eyes beaded up there. He woke up. No, anyway, so, yes. Time, talk, touch. Limit them. Incorporate people into your life. Don't be using words that you're going to regret. Keep those 4 feet on the ground in a movie. Don't get legs crossing every which way. Things are happening that you don't move, man. So, in final thought here, I want to spend a couple minutes on this one here. If my iPad will work here for me. There we go. It doesn't matter in what season you are in. We want to pursue intimacy. And give me just a second here. My iPad is a little bit freaking out here. It's got a spirit of something in it here. There we go. We want to pursue intimacy at all times. Now here's the thing about intimacy, church. Most people think intimacy is romance. I sure thought of that as I'm studying this. You know what intimacy is? Intimacy is transparency. Intimacy is keeping no secrets. Intimacy is opening yourself up, becoming vulnerable with the other person. Let's look at Song of Songs 2, verse 14 here. My dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the hiding places on the mountainside, show me your face. Let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet and your face is lovely. Why do you feel so close when you're dating someone? Why do you feel so close? Because you're talking to them all the time. You're getting to know them. Oh, you find out what's their favorite, dessert. You find out what their favorite food is, what their favorite coffee is, what their favorite movies are. You're rehashing things. You might ask them the same question 10 times. You're getting to know them. You're experiencing this intimacy because you're getting to know the other person deeper and deeper. I'll tell you right now, for married couples here, one of the hardest things is keeping intimate once you're married. See, you think it's the reverse, okay? We would think, wait a minute, you can be intimate because when you're married, hey, most of us share the same house, the same kitchen, the same bathroom, which can be gross sometimes, but the same bed. And yet, transparency usually decreases when you're married. And I'll tell you right now, intimacy is at sometimes at the heart of growing in a season of your life, a season of growing in your relationship with one another. We don't open up about what hurts us. We don't open up. Maybe they've offended us and we don't talk about it. And we don't sit down because we feel that we might be hurt again. Katrina and I, when we were dating, I'll tell you right now, it was a lot of smooth sailing, though we had a few spats here. But I'll tell you right now, when we got married and started having children, there was that honeymoon stage before children and all that. But man, when we got married and had those kids, my heart goes out to people who have children. It is tough. It is grueling. It's like a war zone. You have barely enough time to take care of them, but then let alone to build into a relationship. And not a relationship that's just existing, but a relationship that's living and that's active. We went through a lot of bumps and bruises, a lot of tough times. We're still working through things all the time. But I told her last night, and I can honestly say it, because you know what, I'm a jokester up here, but I'll tell you right now, I can honestly say with all my heart that even after 18 plus years of marriage, over 20 years being with her, I can honestly say I love her more today than I did at any point in the past. Is that because she's better looking? Hope she's in the back room there. No, is that because she's better looking now today than she was 20 years ago? That's debatable. I think she's amazing. But I think she's amazing. But in the same sense, it's more than that. It's more than that. Her inside beauty to me, because she knows me. She knows my ins and outs. She knows my hurts. She knows what will set me off in the wrong direction. She knows what makes me thrive. She knows what makes me tick. She knows me so well she doesn't even get concerned about me. It's really funny. People say to her, Katrina, do you ever get concerned about Stephen? He's got a lot of people out there. Where do you leave me? She's like, oh. She's like, if someone takes him, they'll have him return before sunset. But she knows me so well. And her beauty inside just totally separates her from me. And it's like, man, I am so fortunate that I have an amazing wife. So whether you're married here or you're single, pursue intimacy in all relationships. Be willing to be vulnerable, whatever season you're in. If you're in a season of infatuation, pursue intimacy. Not just all the good stuff that we like to talk about, but the things that are deep down inside. What does that verse say again? Show me your face. Let me hear your voice. For the voice is sweet and your face is lovely. And I did have one more point here. And that is, especially for young people who are not married. Protect your purity. Both physically and sexually, protect your purity. Song of Songs 2:15. Catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyard. Our vineyards that are in bloom. You might say, well, what does that even refer to about purity? If you look in chapter 1, the vineyard was referring to the body. So what happens is, what are these foxes? These foxes come in and snatch it. I mean, I guess we would relate it in this area almost to like deer. You got all this deer like eating plants here. I know my mom says that you got deer coming all the time. You got to protect these plants. She protects them so they don't eat the bark. They don't eat the buds. They don't eat the vegetables. These foxes would come and take the blossoms. The blossoms would have to first come before the grapes would appear on the vines. Catch the foxes, those little foxes that ruin the vineyard, the vineyards that are in bloom. We need, if we are not married, to protect ourselves sexually. That's also for the fact, even for guys, I'll tell you right now, there's times where you have to have blinders on when you go to some different locations. You might go to the mall or whatever. I'll tell you right now, you can't be every time doing a head turn with every single person that walks by. You're like, whoa, you can't be doing that. You got to ask God to help you, because I'll tell you right now, and I'm not doing this out of a legalism standpoint. It's out of a heart standpoint. It's not leading us down the right road. We will then have foxes eating our blossoms, and we will never truly enjoy the grapes that come from that vineyard being pure. Couple things on keeping and protecting yourself in purity. Stay close to Jesus. Stay close to your Heavenly Father. Guard your mind, guard your heart, and your physical body. If you're single and you love Jesus and you want to follow these principles, set standards for yourself, all right? And when you're going to a relationship, You need to make sure those standards are shared sooner than later. If you wait to the very end to share those standards, it's not easy to say no once you're in the backseat of a car, once you're alone under a bridge or wherever you go, whatever. It's not be like, whoa, I forgot to tell you, I got a disease. No, you can't, it's not easy to say no. Share them right up front. If anyone, especially women here, anyone walks out on you because you won't go that distance, they're not worth it. Let him go. They are not worth it. Godly guidance. Use godly guidance. This is not easy. I could have been better. But God is merciful and he's gracious. So even if we are not living in a great relationship right now, we can ask him for his mercy. We can ask him for his grace. He is willing to give us a season of preparation. He's willing to give us a season of infatuation as we love that other person. But I'd always pursue intimacy and protect your purity. I'm going to ask Brian to come up here. And David, if you can just have this guitar on right here. Oh, Freddie, if you can, whatever. Whoever's back there at the board, just make sure the guitar works there. If we just close our eyes for a second here, we just want to have a quick moment of reflection here before we close. These are not easy topics, and you might even be here today and say, well, you know what? This does not relate to me whatsoever. I know sometimes it's really easy to say, hey, you know what? I want to come to church because I want to be fed myself. I need something great from God, and that's wonderful, and we're so thankful. But Sunday morning is designed not just for when we need something ourselves. It's when we come to serve because we know someone else is here that needs to hear this message. So we will not always be the politically correct church that just says everything perfect. We're not going to be a church that always just speaks about easy topics. This is a tough one. Song of Songs 2:16 and 17 says this. My beloved is mine, and I am his. He browses among the lilies. I'll let you think of whatever that is. Until the day breaks and the shadows flee. Turn, my beloved, and be like a gazelle, or like that young stag on the rugged hills. When you have followed through and just have asked God, God, wherever I have been, I want to follow you. I want to remain pure. I want to learn in my season of winter. I don't want to be bitter about it. I want to sit here. Teach me and guide me because you are a good, good Father. You're pleased with me. Your grace covers me. If you're here right now and you're like, you know what? I have not been so great in this area, but I can do better. It's not going to be on your own works. It's going to be on what he's already done. We can ask him to forgive us. We can ask him for his blessing on our relationships. For young people here that have been teetering around on being on the fence, do I really follow God? Or do I just do what my friends tell me? Because sometimes you will be ridiculed by your friends. They may say, what do you mean you didn't do X, Y, Z? Everyone does that. And most people are also hurt down the road. We have to get to a place, church, where God is good. He is good no matter what. He is our Father. He cares for us. Nothing he said here is to hurt us. It's all because he loves us. Father, right now, I just pray for this church. I just thank you that love started with you. It didn't start with us. You created love. You created intimacy. You created relationships. It's in the core of one of the most known verses. For God so loved, not perfect people. He loved the world. That you would give, even when we didn't deserve it. I thank you that we can fall into those footsteps. We can be disciples and followers of you. Teach us. Teach us how it is to live in a godly relationships so we can have the fruit of the vineyard that's pure. In Jesus' name, amen. We thank you, church. Thank you, everyone online that watched us. I will be up here somewhere, and whether or not you need prayer, I am here to pray. If it runs out of room, we'll get someone else to pray with you too. But again, do not walk out of the place if you're saying, you know what, I need to pray about this. I want to pray. I don't have a relationship with God. I want to start a relationship with God. We're right here. We can pray with you here because God does love you. It is a beautiful love song. And again, we welcome you out there in the lobby or to have whatever refreshments there, and you can have strawberries and carrots with Manny. So since he's going to have it there. So we love you guys. You are dismissed. Blessings to you guys.